beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you, our Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Hi, I'm Paula. I was Holly's sister-in-law for many years. I was trying to think of a funny story to tell you after 45 years of memories, but I think the best one that comes to mind was the first time that we got together. My parents wanted to take her out to dinner because they had announced their engagement, and my brother was working that night, so my mom said, let's go to Gail's coffee shop. So we get in there, we get a little booth in the front, we start chatting, small talk, and the lady behind us, Holly and I can hear her conversation. She goes, hey, what's that? What's that in my salad? And her husband goes, what? She goes, there's a bug. I think it's a cockroach. Where? It's under the lettuce, right under here. He goes, oh my God. She goes, we gotta get the waitress. Throughout all this conversation, Holly doesn't even blink. I'm even wondering if she can hear it, because I can hear it perfectly. But she's just listening to my mom, going along. And at one point, when she got the opportunity, she looked over at me like, oh my God, but kept it in front of my parents. And I thought to myself, you know what? This relationship's gonna work out. I'm gonna like this girl. I felt that way all through the 45 years of knowing her. We had our ups and downs, of course. I'm really gonna miss her. But in the meantime, I have this little addition to our family. This is Gracie, that Holly owned, and she's very sweet. She doesn't seem to like men too much, but we're working on that. Thank you. Good night.
Hi guys, this is Mike. I wanted to say thank you, Barry and Shane, for giving me the opportunity to honor the life of your mom, who I was very close with. Holly was a very special friend to me, and she had a great sense of humor. She was super smart and so caring, and just lots of fun to be around and to hang with. We actually met our senior year at Camden High School in 1970. We had a trigonometry class together, and we sat next to each other. So that's how our friendship was sealed, is in trig class, sitting next to each other and studying with our teacher, Mr. Phonic. And my favorite story of Holly is actually occurred when we were in that class. So we used to fool around and joke around a lot, being that we sat next to each other and we both like to have a lot of humor. So one day I was thinking of a way to tease her. So there was a little piece of paper that I rolled up into a little ball. I did not spit on it, no. But I rolled it into a little ball, and I thought, I'll just throw it at her head and get her attention. So she was looking straight forward, and I rolled the little ball together and I threw it at her head. And just as I released that ball from my fingers, she turned to look toward me, and the little wad of paper stuck right between her lips right here, and it stuck there. It was hilarious. We couldn't stop laughing. We were just hysterical, and the teacher finally had to interrupt class and ask your mom and I what we were laughing at. It was so embarrassing, but every time we got together after that, we talked about that story. I mean, it was just a momentous occasion for us, but it was hysterical. Just the timing was unbelievable. As I let go of that, she turned her head, and it landed right between her lips. Just incredible. So, you know, I've thought a lot about your mom since Barry, you called me a couple of weeks ago, and it's just so hard. It was such a difficult call, and Holly was a true friend, and I will miss her dearly. I was looking back to see if I had any photos of she and I, and I did find a really good one from our graduation day at Camden in June of 1971. I'm going to actually send that to you in a separate text or email, so you can have that. But it's a photo that I really treasure, and just want to say God bless you, Holly. Your spirit will always be in my heart. And again, thanks guys for inviting me to honor your mom. Thanks very much, and God be with you. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Pam, and I just really want to share just a small fun memory I had with Holly back in 2016 when I came out to visit your family, and I had rented a convertible Mustang and came by to pick her up. We were going out to dinner, and you know, I had the top down, and she just comes running out with just screaming, "Hey girlfriend," just wrapping me up in a big old hug, and that was pretty precious. And so we went out to dinner over to Bonnie and Shane's, and we had the top down, the music loud, and we were just singing and kind of being carefree, and it was as if we had been girlfriends for a really long time. And so that felt really wonderful. And then you know, we got home that night, and we actually stayed up late, and we chatted some more, and we even got up early and had coffee and our blankies, and we snuggled up on the sofa and just we just chatted it up. We just shared our heart, a few tears, and we really had a great visit. And what is so cool is that we didn't realize that we had worked together back in the day at the same hospital. And so, you know, we had worked a few times together, and I never saw her again until close to 12 or so years later when we crossed paths. And that's such a God thing. And yeah, great memory. And she, I just didn't have enough time with her this side of heaven. I'm going to see you again, Holly.
Okay, Barry and Shane asked me to make a little video for you guys. I'm not big on this because I don't like to be on that side of the camera. I'm a photographer and an artist, and so I always make sure I'm on the other side of that. So I'm going to read something to you. And some of you know that I'm almost 14 years sober, and some of you received my recovery blog, so you've heard this already. So, but it bears repeating. And when Barry called to say it would be soon that Holly would pass, I didn't know what to do with myself during that time, waiting for his call. So Dick said, "Why don't you go downstairs to your office and write your sister a letter?" So I did. It was really therapeutic for me, and we'll tell a bit about my relationship with Holly. So here's my blog for that day. As the finch eggs hatch in the nest on our deck, I am reminded of the cycle of life, all feathers and flopping and chirping, while my own dear sister is passing from this life to the next as I write this. Very sobering. In my sober life now, death will not cause me to stumble and drink. I want to feel the sadness of your loss and not check out. Remember you, honor you, fully aware. And here's my letter to her. Dear sister of mine, I'm so sad you're leaving so young and so abruptly, but I rejoice in our both knowing where you're going. We both spoke many times about the joy and hope we felt knowing we would see Jesus one day again. or for the first time. You are probably with him now. It helps me to know that as I write this to you in your transitioning, you are my friend, a term we used only with each other. That's F-R-E-N, no D or I. Being only 14 months apart, we played well together as kids. Well, you told me what to do, and I obeyed. Being the younger one and always looking up to your leading. We used to say, "Want to play friend?" That was the name of the game, which meant we would set up homes in our rooms and start playing house as friends. I would come visit you at your house, and you would come to mine. We both had babies. You cradled yours like the doll's life depended on it, and I dragged mine around by the hair without care. We played that game for hours. I am there with you now, with tears in my eyes and the fondest of remembrance. Later in life, you became the mother I always wanted to be, but never got to be. You were a great mother and allowed me to what you called kid share. Your children, my niece and 2 nephews, Barry and Shane. I got to become, it taught me mothering skills I could use later when I met Dick, and got to become a grandma to Alex and Christine's boys, my 3 cherished grandsons. You taught me how, Holly. I knew not to drag them around by the hair. You and I shared the love of furry dog children like nobody else knew. A fierce love because of that unconditional, devoted love for us that knew no boundaries. Those furry angels. We went through our losses of our various dogs together, and there were many. Your words were the most comforting of any person's when we had losses. In the last few years, you have known more loss than most. Losing our own mother, your only daughter, Amanda, and 2 of her doggies in 1 year. We took each other through that, you and I. I am forever grateful for your love and what we shared in this life, joy and sorrow together. Fly away, dear friend. I know I will see you again one day. Love, Heidi. And the scripture that I put with it is John 11:25. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. I love you, Holly.
Hi everyone. So I want to share one of my quick stories with Holly. It was the first Thanksgiving I got to spend with the family in the Cool Spring house, and this was the whole deal, right? This was a homemade lasagna and all the sides and everything, and then made a really awesome experience. And what I remembered most was how she made me feel like I was part of the family. When you're joining another family's holiday, you never know how that would go, and I just always remember how she made me feel like I was another son she had. And along with that, I also remember red wine. I remember that can I get you a refill and can I top off that glass was the theme of the night. That and basketball in the dining room. I think we ought to bring those days back. I think she'd like to see that. So, and I'll get a refill. Anyway, I'm gonna miss her and love her, and just wanted to share that.
Hi Shane, Barry. Just want to let you know how sorry I was to hear for you and your family about your mom. I think about my memories of her, and I remember her as a strong, caring, and loving person. And I just reflect back on when we were kids and remembering how impressed I was even as a kid about her work ethic and her willingness to sacrifice for her family. And thinking back on some happy memories, I remember a trip I came out to visit you all in Colorado, and I think of a time we were barbecuing and playing ping pong, and that was one of the most fun barbecues I've ever had. We just played ping pong for hours upon hours, and she was right there with us, laughing and having a good time and wanting us to have a good time and making that space for us. So I know this is an extremely difficult time, but I want you to know that we all love you and your family, and you know, our prayers and thoughts are with you guys, and we know her faith was strong and that she's in a good place, and just know we send our love.
Hi, my name is Deb Williams, and I wanted to thank you for asking me to share some of the memories that I have with Holly. I've known Holly for many years, since we both worked at Valley Medical Center, which was a large public hospital in San Jose, California. We worked in the Mother-Infant Care Center. Holly started MICC as a staff nurse on the night shift, and she actually remained on the night shift throughout her career. She was a staff nurse who loved her patients. She provided excellent patient care for moms and babies. Our unit also cared for high-risk moms who were having complications with their pregnancy. Since we were a high-risk facility, we would get transports in from other hospitals. It just kept everything very interesting on our unit. Holly was a nurse that you could assign the most complicated patients to, because you knew that she had the expertise to provide the very best of care. When the assistant nurse manager on the night shift resigned, or actually retired, we had asked Holly to please apply for the position of the assistant nurse manager for the night shift. And she did, and we were all so happy about that, especially me. Not only was she an excellent nurse, but she was a natural leader. She was competent. She would enjoy mentoring new nurses and who were joining the night shift staff, and her staff loved her and respected her immensely. Holly and I shared a lot throughout the years about family and life in general. And in our retirement years, I relocated to Oregon, she relocated to Colorado, but we used to touch base to catch up on lives and our families and our churches, our fur babies, which are our pups. She had her chihuahuas and I had my dachshunds. VMC was so fortunate to have Holly, who was such a dedicated nurse and manager, but the patients and the staff were the ones that really benefited from her care and her love. And it was my privilege that Holly was a devoted colleague, and I'm just so proud that she was my friend. So thank you for letting me share and helping to celebrate Holly's life. I'm sure heaven rejoiced when she arrived. So till we meet again.
As a boss, Holly was smart, caring nurse. Holly as a boss was loving, supportive, fair and friendly. At time of her retirement, we the nurse opposed, as she had all the quality of a supervisor. Now I am glad she did retire and spend time with her family, which she adored. I'm happy she finished her journey with Jesus and meet her goal.
Holly, we're gonna miss you. We miss you, Holly. We miss you, Holly. Holly was our friend, our co-worker, our supervisor. We miss her a lot.
We miss your work ethics, Holly. We really appreciate you. Were a very supportive manager, and we will miss you. And it is a big loss for us and for the whole family. And may God comfort each and every one of you. We miss you, Holly.
You were the best A&M. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Rest in peace.
Hey Barry, it's Aaron. It is Friday night. Just got the kids down and was thinking a lot about this video and what I wanted to say. And I don't really have a great story to tell. I never felt like I had a lot of time with your mom. We lived in different cities and I was on the road a lot, and it was tough to stay connected to her as often as I wish that I could have. But I do really feel that your mom, Holly, was just so good at making me feel loved, appreciated, special. She also sort of steered me spiritually. You know, she was such a great leader in terms of her relationship with Christ, and just the way that she was able to show everybody, especially me, how important God was to her, how important it was to me, and just establishing that relationship with God and keeping that going and the importance of that. And I think a big part of the reason why the boys and I go to church is because of your mom. You know, she really established that with you guys, the importance of that relationship, but also I feel like getting my kids into church and getting them involved in a relationship with God was a great way to steer them and build a foundation for them that they can keep forever. So if I could take anything away from my relationship with your mom, is just that she was a special, wonderful, kind-hearted, generous person that made people feel loved, appreciated, good at everything. And every moment that I did share with her, I felt accepted. I felt appreciated. And it's even, you know, it's hard for me to even say those things. It's surreal that she's not here with us today, but I just feel like that was her greatest gift, was raising you guys. You know, you talk about somebody that I can relate to that had to raise children alone and did such a wonderful job with the 3 kids that she had. I looked up to her as a leader in that as well, you know, and she made me feel like I could do that. She did it with you and your siblings, and you know, for me, I felt like if she could do it, I could do it, and I used her as an example of how to lead my three boys, not only as their parent but as a spiritual leader, and just build them up. So those are my thoughts. I wish I could say that I had one specific example as to a great memory of her, but the truth is that she was a special leader in the family, and somebody that we all could look up to, that we could use as a guide. And she did a wonderful job of making me feel and my kids feel loved, appreciated, and special.
So the first time that I met Holly was at Bonnie and Shane's wedding years and years ago. And we really kind of connected. I had gotten seated at their table for a brunch that happened before the wedding, and had really connected with Holly. I thought she was great. We had quite a few laughs. I had heard later that she really enjoyed, you know, the time that we spent together. And then later, I think that same day, we had I'd been talking to somebody else at the rehearsal dinner, and one of the waiters delivered me a Long Island iced tea, and I had looked over sort of this big empty area, and Holly was just waving at me, giving me a thumbs up. So she had bought me a Long Island iced tea. It was incredibly sweet. And I just remember, you know, from that time that we bonded, every time that I saw Holly, the few times that I was over at her house in Colorado Springs, the few times that I'd seen her, you know, with Bonnie and Shane after that, she was just always full of joy, always so loving. You know, I mean, she didn't even really know me when I first met her, and that just kind of exuded, and you know, our relationship was really something special to me. She was a very special, very glowing person, and you know, she, I think, means a lot to a lot of people, and I'm really truly going to miss her. Thank you, Holly, for being my friend and for really caring about Bonnie, Shane, Barry, Amanda, and everyone.
So I first met Holly years ago at a birthday party for Barry, and clearly she was operating in the gift of spiritual hospitality. She was warm, she was welcoming, and you immediately had a friend in her. And when I met her, I used to call Barry downtown Barry Brown. And so when I first met Holly, I immediately called her Uptown Mama Brown. And she just rolled with it. She didn't even blink. She thought it was so funny, and she just took on the moniker without any question. And I think that reveals how gracious that she truly was, because a lot of people don't know how to deal with my kind of crazy. So I was struck with her in that moment just how gracious and kind she was and how festive she was. I wasn't at all surprised to find out later that she was a nurse, and it made complete sense because of her warmth and her compassion and her hospitality. I'm sure that she comforted many, many souls as they were going through physical trials, and I can't think of anybody better suited to help someone through that than Holly. So Team Miller celebrates the life of Holly Heath. Even more so, we celebrate her arrival into the kingdom. Although it was too soon, she certainly was destined for that, and I'm certain that she is on the welcoming committee in the kingdom. She's hosting parties in the kingdom and operating in that gift of hospitality as the Lord intended for her. And I'm sure what we saw here was just a glimpse of the fullness of that gift and many other gifts that the Lord had in store for her. So we celebrate Holly. We miss her, but we look forward to seeing her someday, and I know I will see her in God's kingdom, where we're all going to be finally at home and at peace and in full fellowship in the body and in the family of God. Amen. Praise God for that.
One of my fondest memories of Holly, your mother, was the days at the Hampswood House. That would have been back in the early 80s, and all three of you kids were there, and she was just a fantastic mom to all three of you in those days. Also to Toby, Brown, Sebastian, Tobias. And I just have very happy memories of those days. All was well. We had 16% mortgage rates. I think the stock market was going into the toilet. Your dad was selling all kinds of cars. We played tennis in the backyard and got in the hot tub and spent way too much time there. But your mom was really happy in those days, and I have very fond memories of her then. One other silly memory that I have of your mother was when the three of us kids, when we were very young, in Campbell, I was probably 7, your mom was probably 5, and Heidi 4. We were playing out in the backyard, and we gathered a bunch of furry caterpillars, probably 50 or 60 of them in a little bucket. And for some reason, I had this great idea that we should take them out to the street with a hammer and pour them out and squash them with the hammer in the middle of the street. Your mother was not having any part of that. She liked furry little friends. She still liked furry friends all the way to this day. Anyway, so we were wrestling with the hammer, and Heidi was just over my right shoulder, crouching behind us. Your mother was tugging one way, and I was tugging the other way on the hammer. And all of a sudden, your mother let go, and the hammer went right over my right shoulder and hit Heidi in the forehead and gave her a bloody forehead. The caterpillars all got let loose and probably turned into butterflies. We can thank your mom for that. And Heidi went inside to the bathroom where my mother was taking a shower and opened the curtain to see her youngest little baby girl with blood running all down her face. It's a pretty happy, funny memory. So whenever you see furry caterpillars, think of your mom rescuing them, letting them turn into butterflies.
Jesus righteousness alone. Faultless stand before the throne.